This episode is brought to you by Google Gemini. With the Gemini app, you can talk live and have a real-time conversation with an AI assistant. It's great for all kinds of things, like if you want to practice for an upcoming interview, ask for advice on things to do in a new city, or brainstorm creative ideas. And by the way, this script was actually read by Gemini. Download the Gemini app for iOS and Android today. Must be 18 plus to use Gemini Live.
This episode is brought to you by Global X. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been committed to empowering investors with unexplored, intelligent solutions. Global X specializes in exchange-traded funds that offer exposure to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, including themes like data centers, robotics, semiconductors, and cloud computing. To learn more about Global X's entire suite of ETFs, from covered calls, fixed income, emerging markets, and more, visit globalxetfs.com.
Hey, I'm Amanda from Trifecta Fitness. We're proud to be Clarksville's new Get Fit headquarters. Trifecta Fitness is a state-of-the-art spin and strength training studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
Hey, I'm Logan. I'm a sergeant first class in the Army, and I've been lucky enough to secure one of the charity slots provided by the Lifetime Foundation for next year's Leadville 100. In order to do this, I'm looking to raise around $2,800 over the course of the next year to donate to the Lifetime Foundation. A lot of their focus is on youth movement and nutrition and conservation, among other things. And it's a really great cause, and I appreciate any help that you guys could give. And a little bit goes a long way, and it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is
All right. Welcome back.
MisFitNation, the MisFitNation Show.
We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their stories to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or an actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, We love our coaches. Come on and share your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you are a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and show how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you are a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or feel embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you are a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation Show. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast app. Also on our YouTube channel at @the_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date on our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show!
All right. Welcome back to the Misfit Nation Show, Thursday after dinner show. We got a great guest tonight. But first, as always, we look into our Officer Down Memorial page, and this coming the day after the anniversary of September 11th, this needs to stop saying these names. We got a break on Tuesday for some reason. Now we have 2 tonight. Our first one is Police Officer Jamie Roman, Philadelphia Police Department, End of Watch, September 10th, 2024. And Corporal Brandon Schreiber, Newton County Sheriff's Department, Indiana, End of Watch, September 11th, 2024. Let's keep those families, friends, and peers in your thoughts and prayers as they go through this tough time. And let's hope by Sunday we don't have anyone to announce on that night. Tonight, we have an applied developmental psychologist with a specialty in midlife and aging, the founder and CEO of the Mentor Project, and the author of the Mentorship Edge. She's able to speak about what we have to look forward to as we age, as well as why people are built to mentor others. So without further ado, let's welcome Deborah Heiser to the Misfit Nation Show. Welcome, Deborah.
Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
It's awesome to have you. And again, thank you for adjusting your schedule to come hang out with us tonight instead of on my favorite holiday, Halloween, which I was taking off. So.
My pleasure. Actually, I'm glad to be here instead of on Halloween also.
Awesome. Deborah, I gave a short, basically 2-sentence bio of you there. If you don't mind, take us a little further back, as far back as you want to go, to how we got here. Tell the Misfit Nation all about you.
Sure. Basically, I kind of fell into psychology. And it was because I went to visit my grandmother when I was a teenager, and she wasn't acting like she normally did. She was the fun grandma. And I'd go down to Florida and visit her, and I wouldn't have to take any clothes. She was that kind of grandma. I could just wear her clothes, and I just had to bring shoes and like a swimsuit, and everything was set. And then grandma was not herself on one of my visits. She didn't want to do any of the fun things that she'd always done. She was grouchy, irritable, and she was in an independent living facility. And I said to somebody, there's something wrong with grandma. And they said, grandma's depressed. And I was like, what is that? And they said, don't worry, we're going to fix her. And they did. And I came back, and my grandma was my grandma again. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to fix grandmas. So I ended up going to school, getting my degree. Then I went to graduate school and became a researcher in aging. And then I was out there hoping to fix all sorts of people with depression and frailty and Alzheimer's and anything else none of us ever wants to get. And I went to a dinner party, and somebody said, tell me why I should look forward to getting older. And I said, listen, it's because we're getting so many more things that we can do to help us as we become frail and depressed, and as we become demented, all of these things. And the person said, wait, all you do is put a Band-Aid on all the things we don't want in life. That's not looking forward to getting older. And I was really humbled at that moment because I really thought I was like doing pretty great. And here I was like doing research and I was like really filling my oats. And he humbled me in like 3 seconds. And I went back and said, I need to find out why we're looking forward to getting older because he's right. I don't want to just put a Band-Aid on something that's not good. So I went back and looked at the research and started to research myself, everything that we have to look forward to as we get older. And I found out that, in fact, the way that we look at aging is like an inverted, like a triangle without the base. So we have a steep, steady incline. We learn to walk and talk and do all the physical things that that we know we do. And then we have a slow, steady decline. We all know that. That's why we are afraid of aging and don't want to get there because of that decline. But what nobody realizes is that at the same time, when we're born, we have a steep, steady incline that never goes down. And that's our emotional trajectory. And that's why I'm 56 and I'm happier than all the 20-year-olds that I teach. They can all outrun me, but I'm happier. And so when I figured that out, I then said, well, what is it that makes us happy? Why do we get happy? And there's something in midlife called generativity. It's where we care for others without giving, without wanting anything in return. And there are 3 ways we engage in that. And that's mentorship, philanthropy, and volunteering. And the reason we engage in that is because we need to feel like we matter in the world. And we need to feel like all the things we got good at or learned or anything are important enough that somebody else will want them or need them. So I started to talk to people, and I did about 45 interviews of individuals from 4-star general to a grandma, and everybody in between. And they all had the same story, that they cried when they talked about mentoring. They felt so good about giving back. So when I was talking to somebody who was one of the fathers of the firewall, Bill Cheswick, he said, I want to get in front of kids, but I don't have the ability to because I'm getting ready to retire. If I go to a park and say, hey, kid, you want to learn quantum mechanics? He's going to, somebody will arrest him, essentially. And so I was like, yeah, we need to get you into a school. And so the idea of the Mentor Project started from having Bill say, I want to get in front of kids. And then other people said, I want to get in front of kids. Everyone started to say, I want to mentor, and not just kids, but people of all ages. And so we started with about 10 people and thought that would be it. We wouldn't go any further. But within 6 months, we moved to 60, then 80, then over 100. And we have a waiting list. So it really is something that people want to do. People had told me, if you're an expert, no, you're not going to have time. Stop out thinking people will want to do this for free, because we all do it for free. Nobody's going to want to. And the higher up you go, they're not going to want to do it. But we have astronauts, we have famous artists, we have all kinds of people who've really achieved at the top 1% of their level, who do this for free and are excited and happy to do it. And we're in about 5 or 6 countries, and we have, I think, impacted more than 100,000 kids now.
That's
awesome. And my kids, that's, as a 56-year-old, that's loosely stated. It's kindergarten through university.
I say 30 and below. It's the kids.
So
my daughter falls in that gap, so it's good.
It's even older than 30. I think the oldest was 36.
Okay.
So that's the long story about how it got started and how aging fits in together with mentoring, because most people don't see that connection. But quite honestly, mentoring changes lives and the world, and anyone can mentor and anyone can be a mentor. It really does save lives, and isn't just a way to get a better job. It's a way to get a better, personal life as well.
It definitely does. And like we were talking in the green room about my transition, when I started to find my purpose is when I started volunteering at the Red Cross. And you talk about philanthropy and nonprofits. And given those hours, I did almost 700 hours of volunteer time in 6 months there, just to stay out of the house, like I told you, and to give back to an organization that gave to me and my soldiers while I was in the Army. And that gave me that sense of purpose, and it gave me that sense of pride that I was able to help others. And then when I took the job with the Mission Continues, I was still in a nonprofit now, and mentoring veterans. And now I am a co-leader here of the Travis Manion Foundation chapter here in Clarksville, Tennessee. And we have something called Character Does Matter, where we go into schools or to dojos and mentor youth as well on their character strengths. And you can see in their eyes and being able to change their trajectory. Any youth that you talk to, if you give them that positive feedback, I believe that you're going to give them that positive trajectory forward and tell them people do care about you and we want you to succeed.
You're absolutely, you're so right. And who doesn't like to feel like that? Like,
Right.
it's not even kids. Everybody wants to feel like you're moving forward. I'm never feeling like I'm done. I feel like what's next? And I think I'm not alone. Everybody I talk to also says that you don't want to feel like you're 75 and you're done, or, because nobody is. We're never done.
And you got to, and like you said, you got to keep pushing forward. And at 75, hopefully I'm still able to walk by that time, and all the stuff the Army embedded in me still is there, and I work well, and I'm able to move and help others. And you see the older people, a lot of older people volunteer at like the Red Cross or blood banks or home at the shelters, because they like to get out there and talk to people still, because sometimes they don't have much family left, or they just still want to have that sense of purpose. I was looking at your mentorship page. It's awesome, actually. The picture, the collage is awesome. If there was a spot open, I would definitely jump in and become a mentor with you guys. How did you start the sale to get people in, or was it just word of mouth to get people to say, I want to jump in here and help folks?
I'll tell you, it was actually a veteran. JJ Snow, Lieutenant Colonel JJ Snow, I call her Jen. She joined us, and 6 months after she joined right when we formed. And then right after that, 6 months later was COVID. And then, so we had 10 people, and we were really thinking, this is going to be it. This is all we're going to have. And I was thrilled. I was like, yay, we have 10 people. We're good to go for life. This is it. Why would we ever want to grow? And Jen came in and she said, oh, hold on a second. And literally within 6 months, we blossomed to 60 people. Said, oh, Bill's doing it. I want to do it. Oh, this person from NASA is doing it. I want to do it. So it became a snowball. And I'm not joking when I say that I almost lost my mind. I wasn't sleeping for days because Jen kept just, saying so-and-so wants to join. So-and-so wants to join. And, we do a serious vetting process of bringing in our mentors. They have to go through something that's like a big brother, big sister paperwork. And then we do background checks. And we didn't have a system for anything. It was just, so it's all organic, where people say, hey, I'd like to get involved. So some people came on as advisors on the board, or as mentors. But yeah, I had to say, hey, hold on, we got to put the brakes on this, put a waiting list up, because it was moving too quickly.
Right. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because good that you have so many mentors, and then bad that you're kind of now having people wait, and they might go somewhere else before they come to you to find a better place.
We're getting better at we're now able to bring on more, but just now, because we always are looking to improve things like the ability to meet with students in a safe environment. So we had to make sure that we had that available, so that, we're not meeting on people's personal texts and things like that. So that we were, if you're meeting with a third grader or something like that, you want to make sure that you're in a Zoom that is safe, that you're in everyone is in a safe environment. So we had to really do that. We're set now. Everything's good. So we're able to move forward again. But that's been a learning process and how to move forward and then get it get it settled and then move forward again.
Definitely. And growing always has that, like, just like the curve of life.
Yeah.
You grow and then you have to slow down a little bit, like the stock market almost. Ebbs and flows. You got to go with it and grow and make sure you have the infrastructure in place to make sure you're giving the right services to all your mentees.
I'll tell you, we have a few people who are with us who are veterans, and um, they have taught me so much about how to be accountable for everything. And I never, I knew that was important, but I can't tell you how much I've learned from them. Like, they're mentoring others, but I'm getting mentored at the same time. The What I think people take for granted is that when you're in the military, and I haven't been in the military, but from learning from them, is that you have to be accountable for everything and you have to move forward. And it doesn't matter if you're tired, you get it done. And so I've learned so much about, making sure that I can pass that along too, that how important accountability is. If you're not accountable for something, it'll never work. It'll never move forward. And those are just some of the little things that Jen and the others have taught me.
Once you take ownership of everything that you're doing, that kind of makes everything fall in place, and
Yeah.
it works out a lot better. Like, in the military, there's a lot of weight on young men and women's shoulders, because there's leaders that are
Yeah.
20 years old. You're 20 years old and you're leading a bunch of 19 and 18 and 19-year-olds, or maybe you'll have a 30-year-old that's in your squad that 20 years old, and you have that on your shoulder, take care of their welfare as well as their families as well. That's a lot of stuff.
Another thing I learned also was, and a lot of this stuff you think but it's the stuff that you take for granted that you have to really be afraid of. You don't want to take anything really good for granted, because then you don't utilize it properly. But support, having a support network is enormous, and making sure that you're actually being supportive, that you're not just saying, "Hey, what can I do?" and you're not going to follow through. Those are the kinds of things that we really hold near and dear with the Mentor Project. And that really comes from, um, we all probably said to ourselves, yeah, I feel like this, but it was really obvious, and how the folks that are veterans really knew how to do that well and make sure that they were there and it was a great model for others. And so we've been able to make some great support for our mentors, not just for our mentees, but really for our mentors, where they can meet every Friday. We have something called Fridays with Fred, and they're able to get support from each other, which is really, really remarkable.
It definitely is. And I told you I work in an office full of veterans. And just by happenstance, if a soldier comes in there, no matter what part of their career, and they could be a master sergeant or they could be a PFC, we inadvertently mentor them no matter what. We are constantly trying to help them not make the mistakes we made when we were at their level, and push them in the right direction without even thinking about it. We both do it, me and Jake. And it's funny, we don't even have to look at each other to play off each other what we're saying to them, to mentor these young men and women to make sure they are doing better than we did.
Yeah. There's a real part of mentorship, and I talk about it in the book, The Mentorship Edge, is how those little things that we were just talking about, and that you mentioned with when you were at work, we don't often process it, but those are the things that actually save our lives. So I gave the example of Charlie Camarda in the book. Imagine yourself in space. Charlie Camarda flew in the mission following the Columbia disaster, the tragedy. And, when you're going up, that could be you, right? So, and I'm sure that every soldier knows every time you're deployed, there's a sense of fear there. So he was up in space with, and really taking it all in. And somebody said, I think we have the same problem that they had. There might be a problem. And if you can imagine yourself in that situation, it's not like you can be like, open the door, I'm going home, let me out. You don't have anybody. So, he said, I don't trust my boss, to call my boss. I'm going to call somebody that I know and trust. And that was a lateral mentor, one of his friends. And so he got on the phone in space and called some of his friends, his buddies that he knew would tell him the truth. Are we going to die on impact? Or are we going to, is there something we can do? And they said, you're going to need to do a spacewalk, and you're going to need to send somebody outside to fix the tile that was the cause of the Columbia disaster. And you're going to need to fix that in order to come home alive. So
Wow.
they sent somebody out to do a spacewalk. They fixed the tile, came back in, and they came home alive. And it was that mentor that saved his life. It saved the whole crew's life.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know that they would get the correct information. It wasn't, they just didn't trust it. They didn't know. And they knew that these guys had no stake in the game other than that they were supporting friends and that they were there as a mentor to guide them through, like, here's what you need to do. Let's map this out. Here's what, the engineering I know that you don't, that you can get through this. So mentoring is something that is a little bit different from volunteering and philanthropy, where you actually can save a life from it. And it's by using your wisdom that might feel like everyday wisdom, but might just be exactly what is needed to save somebody else in a time of need.
Definitely. And them being able to be the calming voice to him from Earth, obviously, and talking to him, talk him through a situation, how to work that problem, and make
Mhm.
sure him and his crew came home. I'm sure that not only lifted his spirits, but also lifted the whole crew's spirits, because they all knew what was going on at that point, and they knew
Oh,
what just happened to their friends. Probably, I think it was only 6 months prior. I think, the last disaster.
yeah, it wasn't long,
Yeah.
and everything was fresh, and they knew the other um, astronauts. So Charlie's daughter babysat for, I mean, it was a close group of people. It wasn't like they were like people that were like, oh, I don't know them, but how tragic. They knew them. It was a personal devastation to them. So Charlie knew he didn't want to leave his daughter behind. He writes about this. He has a book coming out, and I would urge everybody to read it, because he talks about how to overcome epic challenges. And, he knows how to do that. He's done it.
I was looking at his bio as you're talking about him. And he has his own foundation as well, so he's doing
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah, he's doing awesome things. He's actually long bio. Still has his astronaut bio picture. That's pretty awesome. Something many of us dreamed of doing when we were kids, because as we were growing up, of course, you had all the Apollo stuff going on, the moon
Yeah.
landings, and then it transitioned to the shuttles and watching them. And anyone in our age group can say where they were when the Challenger happened, and
Yeah.
probably when the Columbia happened as well.
Yep.
So both things were tragic in our times, and for him to make it through and get all that training and be where he is now is awesome.
Yeah, there are fewer than 400 people in the U.S. who are astronauts who've done what he's done. So, but that's just one example. Some of the other things with mentoring that most of us don't think about is that we think that mentoring is a way to get another job, or to get higher up in a job. And our most impactful mentorship is from people who are like our friends and colleagues, and people who I call our lateral mentors, the people who are next to us. So if you're anywhere and you look to your left or you look to your right, you are looking at a mentor, just like Charlie's in space were his friends. So the interesting thing is, if you look at history, our founding fathers were all lateral mentors. They were a bunch of guys that got together, and they all had a different area of expertise, and they came together, and that's really what formed our country. That was not a collaboration. They were not a bunch of collaborators. Those were lateral mentors. Their goal was to take their expertise and help each other to develop it into something bigger. The tech revolution is another example of that. I talk about Steve and Steve. An example of them is, there's somebody, Jake Holland, who has a pretty awesome lateral mentor. I'd love to hear about it. But Steve and Steve, I have this example where, there's a guy, Steve, and he's in his workplace, and his boss, Al, comes to him and he says, hey, I need you to get this work done. And Steve's sitting there saying, I have no idea how to get this done. Like, who hasn't been in that position before? But he's not going to tell Al, his boss. He doesn't know what to do. he's pretending he knows what to do. And he's like, I'll figure it out. So a few days later, Al is like, come on, Steve, we got a deadline of 3 weeks. You got to get this done. And Steve's like, there's no way on the planet this is getting done. So he calls his friend Steve and he says, Steve, can you help me? I know that you know this different kind of engineering that I don't know. Can you help me? And Steve says, I'll come over after work. So Steve comes over after work, and it's kind of like the Rumpelstiltskin story. It's like he weaved gold out of like hay in the night, and stuff started to work. The two of them sat up late at night and magic happened. So Al comes back the next day. He's like, oh my gosh, Steve, you made so much progress. And Steve was like, yeah, I told you so. So then Steve calls up his friend Steve. He's like, come back again. So Steve comes back, and in the deadline, they didn't even reach the deadline. They finished it sooner. Those two Steves were Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was the one who was working for Al Alcorn. That company was Atari, and the thing they were working on was the first video game, which was Breakout. Wow. And how often have you ever been like, you know what? I am not telling my boss I don't know what I'm doing. I'm calling a friend. And I'll tell my friend, hey, I can be vulnerable with a friend. I'm going to call my friend and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. Can you help me out? And then your friend says, I'll bail you out. I'll help you. I'm going to teach you what I know so that you can go in and do what you need to do. And then it gets done. We do that all the time. Like it's like life, but we never acknowledge it. So when you don't acknowledge it, you can't capitalize on it and know to do it again. So by knowing that we have mentors all around us, that we don't have to go look for some nameless, faceless person 2 levels above us, we can just call upon people around us and say, hey, can you help me with this one aspect of something I'm not sure of? It helps you to then build your knowledge. Like you said before, you absorb knowledge. We all do. If you have somebody who comes in and helps you absorb something new, you've just elevated yourself. That's where we get like impactful, explosive growth in companies and in our own personal development.
That's outstanding. And I love the story of Steve Jobs and Breakout. Of course, you brought back the age there again to us, playing Breakout on a little 13-inch TV.
Yeah.
13-inch black and white TV, yelling at the TV, trying to play it. It was okay. and you know, we all know where he moved from there with Steve Jobs and what he went on. Great things to do from there as well. Working with a team of teams basically is how he always did his products. It was always team of teams, and his company still thriving now using the team of teams approach.
You know, we're on right now on something secure, right? Speaking. Okay. We're able to do that. And part of that is because Bill Cheswick, he was the guy who was one of the fathers of the firewall. And he and Steve Bellevin wrote the first book on firewalls and on network firewalls. He was called in during 9/11 by Homeland Security to help out with that. But he didn't know how to do it. He was at Bell Labs and they said, hey, Steve, Bill, I need you to work on something that'll help with the internet, a firewall. You know, they didn't call it a firewall. I don't know what they called it, but, you know, something to add security. And so he sat down and did what he could. And then he hit a wall, just like we all do at work. Everyone can relate to this. You hit a wall and you're like, oh, I'm not seeing it. And so he was in his wheelie chair, you know, in the office wheelie chair, and he wheelied himself over to Steve. And he didn't even know if Steve was going to be able to help. And he said, Steve, can you help me, teach me your kind of engineering so that I can figure out where it would match with this, and let's see if that can move it forward. So the two of them worked together. Steve Bellevin, it didn't help him. This was this was Bill's job. Like the same with like the Steve and Steve. The person who's mentoring, they're getting nothing out of it. It wasn't like that was going to advance either of their jobs. They're doing it because they want to, because they're following the principle of generativity, where they're caring for somebody and want to help them without expecting something in return. So Steve Bellevin, you know, said, "Yeah, I'll help you out." That led to the network firewalls happening, and the first book that they had that came out. So they were really instrumental in that movement. But really, you know, everybody who you've ever met, who you've asked for help, They do it because they want to help you. We are built to want to help others and not expect something in return. And so when people say, I don't want to burden somebody by asking for help, you're really hurting the other person because that other person wants to help you. Every time somebody comes and says, hey, can you help me? Everybody gets like a feeling of, oh, me? Really? You think I'm smart and I can help you? That's so cool. It happens every time. Yeah. It happens every time.
And it's like a surprise when like you said, when someone comes up and asks you for the help when you think they know everything or you think they have it all together, and all of a sudden they're asking you, it is like a gift. It's a surprise that you're able to help them, but you're also helping yourself because you're building your confidence as well by helping them.
And every bit of knowledge that you're giving to somebody else is a piece of you that's going in them. It's immortality. And I talk about the Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, who said to himself, gee, I wonder, his name is Bob Lefkowitz, I wonder how I got to where I am. And he looked at the mentors above him and the mentees below him and everybody all beside him. And he made what he calls the legacy tree. And in that, it looks just like one of those ancestry.coms, except it's all mentors. So leave it to a Nobel Prize winner to publish that in a peer-reviewed journal article. Shortly after that, he goes to a conference and somebody comes up to him and says, hey, I'm 6 degrees Lefkowitz. And he was like, what are you talking about? He said, oh, I read your article and 5 people are between you and me in the work that we do. And so Bob said, so tell me about what you do. And the guy said, here's my work. And Bob was able to hear this person's, when he was able to hear his own work in this person's explanation of what he was doing.
Wow.
And if you can imagine knowing that somebody 6 degrees away from you is still talking about what you started, which was also built on what was given to him by somebody else, it was so meaningful to him that, here he won the Nobel Prize, but now he knew he mattered. He
Right.
knew that his life was going on in somebody else. And so legacy is a form of mentorship that is so powerful to the mentor that, it's the biggest gift that somebody can get. It makes us realize that every footprint we put on the earth matters. And that every time we speak something to someone or do something, it holds in somebody else. And it's how we have religion that's lasted centuries. That's by mentors passing it along. It's how we have, if you have the same Thanksgiving meal every year and it has all the same foods, that's because it gets passed down from somebody. Like this is like, I have my grandmother's recipe, for Thanksgiving, and I make it every year. And that's going to get passed down to my kids, and it's something that will continue. And that's mentorship, because those are values. Those are, family values that get passed down. And so values and meaning and all of that are also considered when we think of mentorship.
Definitely does. And I was just thinking outside this crazy world we're in right now and all the noise that's out there now for everybody, no matter what age you are, there's noise out there telling you things and causing havoc. Do you think different generations can come together and through mentorship, solve the challenges that we're having with that noise and maybe come to a positive solution for communities up to our country?
Oh, absolutely. I was talking with Charlie Camarda, the astronaut, and a few other people, and we want to do like a think tank, because we really do believe that people can come together and should come together and their expertise should be shared. We lose so much of our most precious natural resources every single day when a door closes on somebody's expertise not being shared.
Yes.
Our expertise is not oil and coal and gas, it's us. And we are the most precious natural resources. Every time a door closes, we can't get that back. It's gone forever. It's like an extinct animal, like the dodo bird of the past. It is gone. So, Yes, I think you're onto something there. I think that that's something that we should be doing. We should be looking to bring our experts from multiple generations together to make positive change. The key and core to all of this is connections and how we make a connection with somebody else that's meaningful, that allows us to transfer that knowledge.
Definitely. And you've also been a TEDx speaker.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how was that? And did you get pumped up to get on there by a mentor, or was it just by watching others?
No, I got pumped up. You could put me, I've gone skydiving, I've done all kinds of things. You put me in front of people to speak, and I'm scareder than being dumped in a pile of snakes. Like, seriously. So, it was a big deal for me, and I was very fortunate. I had a mentor. His name is Michael Elsey, and and thankfully he was a clinical psychologist because I was one anxious person. But he really helped me. He mentored me through it. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. I wouldn't have been able to, not just with the anxiety level of it, but I also wouldn't have been able to come up with the ideas. He helped me. He said, I'm going to pull out the inner Iowan. I'm originally from Iowa, from you, and make you, like, make that come out in a way that people will be able to understand you, so you're still authentic. And he did that, and I'm so thankful to him. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him.
That's outstanding. So once you got on there and you started giving your speech and you see all the people giving you that feedback right away, you should see their faces. Uh, how did that feel?
I was still petrified.
So-
I I I will admit it. I'll tell you, no, the whole entire 8 minutes or whatever it was, I I was basically, yeah, felt good afterwards because I was like, I did it. But I don't even know how I felt that moment on there. But I will tell you that I teach every semester 2 classes at a university, and it's because it helps me with my fear of public speaking, because it really is hard for me. And now I'm much more comfortable with it. But that very moment, I'm not joking with you. Had Michael not been there, I probably would have fallen right off, and somebody would have had to catch me, and I wouldn't have gotten back up there.
Wow.
It's that scary for me.
But it's awesome that you did it and you made it through that. I like that you put it on the level of skydiving. So it's skydiving was easy. This was not. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, most people really think that if you do public speaking, it's because you love it and you can't get enough of it, and you feel it. I'm able to feel that now because I know I can connect with people. But if you think of the first time you ever did something that was the scariest thing you ever did, you probably don't. You either remember every single solitary detail of it, but you may not have been enjoying it, even if you enjoy it later.
Definitely. Yeah. The first time you get shot at, it's not fun.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever fun. And
But
if it
you
is,
laugh during it though. So
go get a different hobby.
for some reason we all laugh during it. I don't know why, but we do. And we
Oh,
joke with each other. It's crazy, but it's fun, I guess. Adrenaline makes you do weird things, and you don't have that adrenaline sometimes when you're walking onto a stage and seeing a bunch of people you don't know really staring at you and waiting for you to deliver something that's supposed to change their lives. So I can understand the difference there.
but I would suggest that others do it. It's a really, for me, it was a life-changing event. Not just because I got to do something that challenged what I feel comfortable with, but because it's an opportunity. Every single one of us has something to say. And most of us feel like nobody's going to want to hear it, or I don't have a special way of saying it, or a billion other people have lived what I've lived. But it's just not true. There's never a person that doesn't have something new to say. So I would encourage anybody to apply. It's free. You go to the TEDx link, you just type in TEDx locations, and there's a whole guide, and you can go apply to do a TEDx talk. I would definitely guarantee that a person would find it to be a really moving experience.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And, Misfit Nation, I believe, just like Deborah said, every one of you has a story. It's great to get it out there. And sometimes it actually helps to get it off your chest and share it with the world. It helps you breathe a lot easier. And then once you get over that fear of the stage, you'll be fine.
Yes, absolutely. I survived. Anyone can.
Right here, we're laughing about it now. It's perfect now. It's all in the past. It's awesome. So, Deborah, you're the founder of the Mentor Project, author of the Mentorship Edge. How do people get in contact with you to maybe chat like we are, or maybe pick your brain as a mentor?
So, first of all, I'll say this. I would be happy if there are veterans who would like to meet to get mentored. I would be happy to volunteer 1 hour of my time a week if people would like that. The other thing is you can reach me at deborahheiser.com, deborahheiser@gmail.com, dheiser@mentorproject.org. You can reach me on LinkedIn, on the Mentor Project on Facebook. There's a lot of places. Just if you Google, you'll probably find me. I write for Psychology Today. You can reach me there. Any of those places, but I'm happy to help out wherever I can.
And both links are in the show notes. If you look at the show notes for this show on YouTube right now, it's on there. The Mentor Project website is going across the bottom right now, and I'll send the LinkedIn will go across there in a couple of minutes. Deborah, I ask every guest when they come on, before they leave, what's 3 things our audience can do tomorrow to start making a positive change?
Volunteer, mentor, or donate your time, money, or energy.
Outstanding. Thank you, Deborah. And thank you for changing from Halloween till today so we can get you on and keep you in season 4. This has been an awesome chat. I know the audience liked it. They've been cheering on in the comments. Some things I can't really put on there, so I don't want to get banned by the FCC sometimes. So I try to be nice and keep things real and do the best I can to make everyone happy here. So, Deborah, thank you again, and you have a great rest of your evening there in New York, and look forward to seeing great things from you in the future.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Have a great night.
You too.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus,
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation Show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are
Misfit Nation. Misfit Nation.